Hi Sagittarius, this is Lee at Fresh Astrology. We are looking at December 2017. So what we're going to do here is look at the overview and the two strong transits happening during this month. One being the movement of Saturn from Sagittarius to Capricorn, and at the same time, in the same area of the chart, the Mercury retrograde going on through the first 3 weeks. So a lot going on in a concentrated amount of time in the same area of the chart. So you'll definitely feel this area of the chart being kind of stimulated, I guess. It will make itself known. For a Sagittarius, the area that is very highlighted during the first 3 weeks is your personal zone. So it's all happening in Sagittarius. It's a time in Sagittarius with the sun here. Happy birthday. It's a time, you're concluding a time when you've had Saturn in your sign for 2.5 years, which has also made itself known. You've been quite aware of Saturn in your sign. It creates challenge, personal challenge, a sense sometimes of hardship, a sense sometimes of unfairness, a sense that you have to work harder than everybody else. Sometimes a sense, well, we said unfair, things are unfair. A sense that we have to mature a great deal. Sometimes we ignore that and we don't mature, or we refuse, or we slow down our desire to change, and then it feels like life gets even harder. Usually by the time the transit is ending, we see how we've begun, or we begin to see how we've kind of put ourselves sometimes in a hard situation. And we see how we could do things differently moving forward. So the idea is not to feel bad and beat ourselves up for anything that we did wrong, any way we could improve. Don't waste time hurting yourself over something that could have gone better. Just learn from the experience and move forward. Move forward with that sense of understanding. That sense of awareness is very valuable. And just the fact that you can be aware that maybe you could improve something about the way you do things, the way you come across. It's going to be different for different Sagittarius people. Just that awareness alone is so valuable. That is 90% of the growth, is just the awareness. Like, oh, I see how I could have, done thus and such differently. I see how maybe I could open my mind a little bit more, or be a little bit more flexible, or have a student mind, like I'm willing to learn about this, rather than trying to create a boundary from learning. Sometimes we do that with the best of reasons. Sometimes we have really good reasons for doing what we're doing. Often we do, but it goes wrongly, it goes awry. And so then, rather than beating oneself up, which under a Saturn transit we can tend to do, is better just to learn, move on. Develop that awareness, honor the fact that you're being aware, pat yourself on the back for the awareness, and just keep moving on. Use it to move on. So that's where you've been. Saturn transits are not easy typically. They're never really easy, especially when it's in your sign. So congratulations, this is over. When Saturn, before we talk about Saturn moving on, you have Mercury retrograde in the same area. So all the stuff I said about reviewing the lesson, reviewing what you've learned, that's all the Mercury retrograde piece. That's sort of the prescription under Mercury retrograde here, especially with Saturn, is honoring the lesson. Taking a moment to think about what the lesson was. If it hasn't become completely visible to you, take some time, slow down this December to see what happened here. What happened? over this last 2.5 years. Just take stock. Don't beat yourself up. Just take stock. Look at what happened. See if you can step back and look at it objectively. And, deep breath. And just look at it like you're looking at an object that's distant from you. So you don't want to hurt yourself with any information you see there. And maybe honor how much you've matured through all this. Pat yourself again on the back. You've learned a lot. Even if you had to learn it the hard way, you've learned so much, and you've actually grown up a lot. And you can grow up a lot even if you're in your 70s. You can grow up a lot and learn as though you're a child, even though you're in your 70s. At any age, you can mature and grow and learn a great deal at any age. Honor that. You're poised on the brink of, toward the end of December, doing something entirely new. It may have to do with teaching and learning. So again, we've got these themes of teaching and learning. It has a lot to do with maturing into a role that could have a managerial quality to it. You may be taking on a role of authority, which you've earned, I think. So taking something on, taking responsibility. If you're working, it's maybe taking on a position of authority at work. And still learning, maybe learning a new role, taking on authority, learning a new role in a work environment to earn money. That's what a lot of you are doing. It could have to do with mentoring, teaching, managing. It could have those themes wrapped around it. But it is as though Sagittariuses of all stripes are taking on some kind of authority and a maturity in the work environment, and maybe better money skills, maybe better skills in how you spend money once you earn it. Both the earning and the spending of money, there's some skill set there that's coming in. Sometimes, because this can be an area of relationship, sometimes Saturn can represent a person. We'll talk more about this part of it in a download on my website, where I'll also talk about Venus. And my website is www.freshastrology.com. If you scroll down, you'll see your zodiac sign. It could be your sun, your moon, your rising. And December 2017, that'll be the Venus download. And then also you'll notice I have the 2018 forecast there. So there could be some love stuff going on here. It could be a marriage. It could be a proposal of marriage. It could be just the strengthening of a relationship. So for many of you, that will be the case. Not for everybody, obviously. I'm trying to think what else I want to say here about this. It could be with this Mercury thing going on, because Mercury, once it goes direct, and this is sort of in a time when Saturn's moved into that second house, it could be that many Sagittarius people will find that they have this idea of two jobs that they're doing, two things that they're doing. So they'll feel a little bit like they're juggling maybe two things, or even more than two, but that juggling two things. So it may feel with that Saturn taking on a new responsibility, that part of that involves like an extra thing that you do. So maybe at work they could say, yeah, congratulations, you're promoted. Here's all this extra work that you have to do. So it feels like you're almost doing two roles. It could be, and you get just more work heaped on you at work in a day job. It could be that you start your own company, or maybe you have a day job and you have something else you're doing on the side. So it's like you're juggling these two things. It just depends on the person. But a lot of, a kind of a steep learning curve, an extra responsibility is what I see. And maybe some learning how to manage money in a certain way better, in a better, more measured way. I'm just trying to think what else. You already have Pluto in here in the second house area, and you have the symbol for marriage and relationship, Juno. So I do think for a lot of Sagittarius people, there is this idea, this concept of marriage, being with somebody on a permanent basis. For a thin sliver of you, this may have more to do with divorce. Not everybody, but there may be a few of you where this symbolizes like a long pathway in a relationship that's just been transformed you on a deep level, but it's felt very heavy and not always good. And so for some of you, there could be an end to a relationship here. For some of you, if you are ending a relationship, it may take a 2.5 year span of time to really unravel from this relationship. This could be a business relationship that's unraveling over 2.5 years. And it could be a love relationship too that unravels. It may be a long phase of undoing a business relationship or a love relationship. So you're entering a new phase with it. It may last longer than, because it had so much permanency. There was something so solid about the job, the role, the professional role, or a relationship that it takes about 2.5 years to really undo it and change it. For some of you. Others, it's about getting engaged, getting married. For some of you, it's nothing to do with relationships, although maybe not love relationships, but other kinds of relationships, which I'll talk about in the download. All right, so otherwise, say a big thank you to the stars and the heavens for Saturn leaving your sign. And you'll feel the uplift. Even if you're kind of tired from this long transit, you'll feel the moment of where it's moved on. Some of that will feel like a visible or a noticeable lift.